whatever the system of personal development is that you're looking at, or whatever the system of, even martial arts has elements of this, and similarly, systems of magic, uh, religious practice as well throughout time, they all have a focus and a leaning on um, the capacity to control thoughts, words, and deeds. And when you bring thought, word, and deed into alignment, special things can happen. I grew up studying ninjutsu and aikido. Of the martial arts that are out there, ninjutsu and aikido are probably some of the most mystical and religious. They're not very well understood. Ninjutsu, as it's taught today, Tagakure-ryu Ninpo Taijutsu by Masaki Hatsumi, is kind of like it's pretty much cobbled together by Masaki Hatsumi. It's a system of philosophy as much as anything else, and a system of personal development as much as anything else. Aikido is the same. Aikido was never really meant to be martial arts. The martial art element of Aikido was a side effect for O-sensei, for Ueshiba sensei. It was the rigorous practice of martial arts and having things be difficult and require discipline and consistent action over time that interested Ueshiba sensei, because he saw in his own life that created mental fortitude and spiritual fortitude. Both of these gentlemen in the Japanese tradition are very interested in the unification of thought, word, and deed. That's what yoga means, by the way, is unifying, bringing together, bringing into harmony, unifying different elements and causing them to act at the same time. In Aikido, the ultimate expression of Aikido, which is a system of personal development primarily, it's personal and spiritual development primarily, and the martial elements are completely secondary, was to unify intent, breath, and movement. And that would be considered the ultimate expression of Aikido, would be the unification of breath, intent, and movement. In ninjutsu, particularly where it strays into the area called Mikyo, which is kind of like are birds fighting or shagging? Sometimes it's hard to tell. Both require friction. Both are essential to the propagation of life on the planet. I wish they would go away, though. I'm busy. The mystical elements of Buddhism, the more magical elements of Buddhism in the Mikyo, spoke about unifying thought, word, and deed. Speaks about unifying thought, word, and deed a lot. Indeed, when you begin your ninjutsu practice, you are supposed to say, kind of like a prayer, which is Shiken Haramitsu Daiko Myo. And then you clap your hands once, you clap your hands twice, bow, then you clap your hand once, and you bow again. And the idea of that is to bring everybody in the class into unification through unifying the thought, the word, and the deed. What does the army do? They do drills. What does drill do? It unifies thought, word, and deed. What do corporations do? They make products and they sell them to people. How do they do that? Well, through their marketing campaigns and through their propaganda and their brainwashing, they unify thought, word, and deed in the mass market, in their customers, and then they bind their customers to them. Where does this apply to you? In your life, I would like you to start becoming aware from a philosophical point of view of the way in which you use your thoughts, the way in which you use your words, and the actions you take. How would you think? How would you speak? How would you act if you knew with certainty that you had some sort of great power, some sort of great agency in your own life to make change? How would you speak to other people if you knew that every word you spoke was loaded with a magical power to manifest the core intent behind that word? What thoughts would you let yourself dwell on if you thought that, if you believed that if you keep dwelling on these thoughts, you're actually going to be creating more of the same thing? What actions would you take repetitively throughout the day if you thought that your actions were symbolic gestures that you were expressing outward to the universe about what you chose your life to be about, for example? as a thought experiment. Not that that's the case, just as a thought experiment. What would you do? What actions would you take consistently if you thought that your actions had significance? My hypothesis is not that we are powerless, but that we've been tricked into thinking that we're powerless. We believe in our own powerlessness. It's kind of a game, a trick that's been played, and that actually we are way more powerful than we would dare to imagine. And I use the word dare there advisedly because it's frightening. When you start to come into contact with the fact that actually you have way more power than you thought, it's not a comfortable feeling. It's not a let me say, it's not a comforting feeling. It's not a comforting feeling. There is no sense of safety that comes with that. In fact, it's the opposite. You sense the risk. You think, oh God, what have I been doing? What have I been saying? And what have I been letting myself think? What thoughts have I allowed myself to dwell on again and again and again that I'm holding in conscious awareness over and over again, energizing with emotion repetitively? And what effect has that had on my life? You can change this. They're your thoughts, they're your words, they're your deeds. You won't be encouraged to, though. Culture won't encourage you to. Your friends and family won't encourage you to. You've got to choose to do it. In fact, they'll encourage you not to. They'll encourage you to just say, don't worry about it, let it happen, just let other people make that decision for you. It's too tough, just sit back and watch Netflix and whatever else it is. So if you want that to happen, it's you that needs to take control of that ultimately. They're your thoughts, they're your words, they're your deeds, it's your life. I will now take questions. It would be extremely enjoyable for me if those questions were one sentence long and if they ended with a squiggly symbol called question mark. Tara Lynn asks, how is your challenge coming along? It's going really, really good. If anything, I'm losing weight now too rapidly. So I'm going to have to do something with my calories. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing a challenge called 75 Hard. If you want to know more about that, you can look up the 75 Hard blog. It's training twice a day, sticking to a diet, drinking a gallon of water every day, taking progress pictures every day, and reading 10 pages of a motivational book every day. I believe I'm on day 30. But yeah, it's going well, and I'm getting tremendous benefit from it. I'm really, really happy about it. I'm actually using a mic. Does it help if I do this? How to speak about, explain our mental issues, CPTSD to other people. I wouldn't if you can avoid it. I would not bother. Trying to explain CPTSD to people who haven't got CPTSD it's like trying to describe narcissistic abuse to somebody who's not experienced it, or issues related to families. When somebody's come from a good family and they don't have these issues, it's very, very hard for them to understand where we would be coming from with that. I'll try and put the mic up here. It's the first time I've used this mic. Maybe it's better if it's up here. On what do we have so much power of, or influence, for example? What I'm suggesting is that you have more power in your life than you're probably aware of. You have power actually, in fact, over your life because it's yours. Unless you're in prison or somebody's holding you physically at gunpoint, you have power over your life. And there's stories of people in prison who, even when they were being beaten, tortured and abused, still made tremendous progress psychologically, emotionally and spiritually by taking control of what was going on for them internally. Which cities do you think have the most narcissists? I've no idea. Benefits versus harms of going no contact with a narcissistic parent. I can't think of any harm from going no contact with a toxic human being. I can only think of benefits. How's the book coming along? The book outline is 90% written. I've hired a ghostwriter to help me to write the book in a way that's engaging and entertaining. And so that book, I think, will be out, I think, in March or April of next year. It should be finished, I think. I hope in February, March, something like that. We'll see. It depends on what. Depends on whether I go self-published or if I go to a publisher with it. If I go self-published, obviously it'll be out very, quite a bit faster. But it still needs to be written. Are you still doing the retreats? My uncle sadly passed away about 6 weeks ago now. And from that point, I didn't feel like I was probably in the best place to be doing retreats with people and trying to hold the space for a number of people at one time. So no, there are no plans for me to do retreats at this particular point in time. Hi Richard, for a superego that's beating you up for trying to be too kind and a know-it-all, I'm having problems with the emotional literacy. Words to describe it, question mark. I'm not sure whether you're looking for words to describe it, but the emotional literacy course, remember, is not about story, it's about your feelings. So you could do an emotional literacy exercise on your superego. You could say, how is the inner critic making me feel at this time? Does it make me feel frustrated? Does it make me feel sad? Does it make me feel angry? And do some emotional literacy around that particular issue. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you very much for your time and your attention this fine evening, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very soon. Thank you.